Together, these 5 families are worth over $3 billion, and none of it is clean. Their money comes from fear, drugs, and violence. Not one of them earned it in a boardroom. They built their power in the dark, through crime, corruption, and blood. They control drug routes, illegal gambling, and black market trades, all protected by political power. While honest people pay taxes, these crime lords buy loyalty. They own police chiefs, fund campaigns, and silence rivals. Their faces never appear on news screens, but everyone in power knows their names. Across the country, their operations run quietly. Factories that never close, businesses that never report income. They turned vice into dynasty and fear into currency. Even after crackdowns, their wealth hides inside shell companies and offshore accounts. They hand out food, money, and promises to the poor, not out of kindness, but out of insurance. Because the people they help become the shield that keeps them safe. This isn't the past, it's happening now. And in the Philippines, the richest crime family isn't arrested, they're elected. Across the Philippines, a hidden group of families rules from the shadows. Their wealth equals the country's richest tycoons. But their names almost never appear on paper. They don't run companies, they run territories. They rule using fear, money, and connections. People don't vote for them, they already control the power. Each family has bodyguards, politicians, and officers on their side. They move cash, drugs, and orders faster than the law can act. Even the police know who they are, but few dare to touch them. Together, these 5 families control over $3 billion. That's more than many real corporations in the country. If they have this much money and influence, how did crime become their family business? It all begins with vice, gambling, drugs, and smuggling. That's where the money starts. Then comes political protection. They pay the police, judges, and officials to look away. Once the system is bought, the real game begins. Generations learn how to launder money, bribe leaders, and blend in with the rich. Over time, crime becomes tradition, passed from father to son like a family business. These aren't street gangs anymore. They're corporations with guns and government connections. It's like a tech company, but instead of apps, they sell drugs and protection. Every dynasty follows the same pattern: vice, protection, laundering, power. That's the blueprint of every criminal empire in the country. And one family perfected it better than all the rest: the Espinosas. In Leyte, the Espinosa family built one of the biggest shabu empires in the Visayas. Roland Kerwin Espinosa Jr. controlled drug routes across Leyte and Cebu, earning millions of pesos every week. His father, Rolando Espinosa Sr., was the mayor of Albuera. That gave the family a legal image, even while running illegal trade. In 2016, investigators linked 84 government officials and many police officers to Kerwin's network. Then came November 2016. Mayor Espinosa Sr. was shot dead inside his jail cell during a late-night police raid. The police called it a shootout, but most people saw it as an extrajudicial killing. Kerwin fled the country but was arrested in Abu Dhabi and later sent home. He confessed, naming police generals and even a senator. The Espinosa fortune, worth hundreds of millions, still hides in offshore accounts and shell companies. The Espinosas ruled Leyte, but another family turned from soldiers into syndicate kings. The Kuretong Balang started in 1984 as a government-backed militia. Their job was to fight communist rebels in Mindanao. By 1988, the group was disbanded, but they didn't disappear. They turned to crime. They began robberies, extortion, and drug trafficking, becoming one of the most feared syndicates in the country. At their peak, they pulled off multi-million peso bank heists in broad daylight. In Misamis Occidental, they acted like a parallel government, collecting taxes from businesses just like a state. They used military training and weapons to make money. The Parrogs family ran the syndicate while holding public office. In 1995, 11 members were killed in a so-called shootout, but reports said it was a summary execution by police. The Kuretong Balang ruled through fear, but they also played Robin Hood, and that's how they survived. To survive, the Kuretong Balang gang started giving back to the poor. They built roads, sponsored fiestas, and handed out food to local families. At first, people thought it was generosity, but it was really insurance. The people they fed became the shield that kept them safe from arrest. Locals saw them as heroes, not criminals. Even when they broke the law, they were called benefactors. It's like a gang that fixes potholes. You know they're criminals, but they still help your street. This Robin Hood strategy earned loyal support, making it impossible for police or politicians to touch them. Their leaders became popular figures, taxing businesses and giving handouts to villagers. But this strategy wouldn't last forever. The Parrogs took it too far. Rinaldo Aldong, Parrogs Sr., ruled Ozame's city as both mayor and kingpin. Behind the public fiestas were meth labs, extortion rings, and private armies. For nearly 20 years, the Parrogs controlled politics, police, and crime, making them almost untouchable. Then came President Duterte's drug war. The Parrogs landed on his narco list. On July 30th, 2017, a pre-dawn police raid hit their homes. Mayor Rinaldo Sr., his wife, his brother, and 13 others were killed in what police called a firefight. The dynasty fell, but rumors say loyal lieutenants quietly kept the business alive. The Ozame's raid became one of the bloodiest moments of Duterte's drug war. It ended a political empire, but it didn't end the money. While Mindanao bled, Luzon gambled, and one family became billionaires, betting 5 pesos at a time. Illegal gambling is a multi-billion peso business in the Philippines. At the center of it is the Kuretong racket. Rodolfo Bong Pineda, known as the Kuretong King, controlled nearly 80% of Pampanga's operations by the year 2000. A 2013 Senate inquiry estimated Kuretong earns about 30 billion pesos, or $600 million, every year. Some reports say the real number was even higher, reaching $1 billion by 2000 and $1.4 billion by 2019. The cash flow from this illegal lottery built luxury homes, political power, and dynasties. Each bet may be only 1 peso or 5 pesos, but with hundreds of thousands of players, the profits explode. Even President Joseph Estrada was impeached in 2001 for taking Kuretong bribes. The Pineda family turned dirty money into dynastic control, with their wife and son becoming governor and mayor. But the Richest family went beyond gambling or drugs. They controlled territory. The Sabuko family is the closest thing the Philippines has to a real drug cartel. Based in Mindanao and the Sulu archipelago, they ran an international narcotics empire. Their trade covered meth production, arms smuggling, and kidnapping for ransom. They built ties with rebel and terrorist groups, including the Abu Sayyaf group. This gave them armed protection and control of remote areas where the government couldn't reach. Their Shabu labs sat deep in jungles, guarded by private militias with military weapons. They used Mindanao's weak sea borders to smuggle drugs and guns into Malaysia and Indonesia. Law enforcers say the Sabuko family's income reached hundreds of millions, possibly close to $1 billion. The Sabuko cartel built an empire, but how did they survive so long? The answer is political armor. From Manila to Mindanao, every syndicate survived the same way, by buying protection, silencing witnesses, and funding politicians. Governors, police chiefs, and even military officers worked with crime families. Their mansions, hotels, and charities weren't signs of success. They were fronts for money laundering. When police made arrests, they caught only low-level runners. The real leaders stayed hidden behind powerful friends. Duterte's drug war hurt smaller gangs, but had little effect on the Sabuko cartel. One Chinese businessman ran meth labs in Mindanao while serving as a presidential advisor. It showed their double life. Criminal boss on one side, businessman on the other. In Sabuko territory, even law enforcers needed cartel permission to enter. Political armor kept them alive. But when the leaders fall, do their empires die or hide in the shadows? Today, their leaders may be gone, but their wealth still remains. It's hidden inside shell companies, pawn shops, offshore accounts, and legitimate-looking businesses. 5 families, 1 legacy. Together worth over $3 billion and still growing. Even in 2020 and 2021, authorities kept finding properties, vehicles, and assets linked to these old syndicates. Every government crackdown follows the same pattern. Chaos, short setbacks, then quiet adaptation. They use poverty to gain followers and corruption to gain protection. The real power in the Philippines isn't always in Malacanang Palace. It's in the back rooms of mansions with tinted windows. For these families, crime isn't just a risk. It's a business and a legacy. The families survive. But which one is the richest? And what makes them truly unstoppable? Here's the truth. The richest criminal family in the Philippines is the Sabuko cartel. They're not just drug dealers. They're a state within a state. Billion-dollar revenue, rebel protection, political armor. Even Duterte's drug war couldn't break them. Most people think crime families are street gangs. They're wrong. These are corporations with accountants, lawyers, and politicians on payroll. They launder money through hotels, shipping firms, and pawn shops. The Espinosas fell. The Parrogs fell. Even the Kuretong lords were exposed. But the Sabuko cartel survived, buying power, paying rebels, and staying untouched. In the Philippines, the richest criminals aren't arrested. They're elected. And true power needs only three things: silence, money, and the right last name. From the Espinosa Shabu Empire, the Kuretong Balang gang, and the Sabuko cartel's billion-dollar rule, these five families form the shadow aristocracy of the Philippines. Their wealth still hides in plain sight. You just saw how crime, power, and politics mix into $3 billion of untouchable control. Subscribe for more hidden stories and untold power secrets. Which family shocked you most? The Espinosas, Parrogs, Kuretong lords, or the Sabuko cartel? Drop a comment below.